Hey, Tom. So when I used to run a managed service provider business, I can tell you that when I came into the office first thing in the morning, the first thing that I did was make a cup of tea, sit down in front of my screen, and the very first thing I was interested in as the owner of the business was the stats. I really was numbers driven. I was managed by metrics, so I like to look at the statistics there. But then what I would do, look at the stats and make sure that everything was okay. Often I would sort of, and I'm not ashamed to say this out loud, drift off and get distracted by emails and other things. I've been super impressed with the Pax8 dashboard and how you can actually modify it to give business owners, MSP owners, the insights that they need, not only statistics, but industry news and everything else that's going on. Do you mind showing us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the executive dashboard is definitely one of our flashier versions of the portal here that you can set up. It's very much your landing screen. It's when you log in to pax8.com. What do you want to see when you land inside of there? And so again, you as maybe kind of the business owner towards the top, or maybe on the sales side, seeing those numbers, seeing bar charts, seeing graphs, seeing trends upwards, downwards, whatever those may be, versus others that may log into this and may be interested in what is the MSP community doing. Can I put my fingers on the pulse here of kind of the news cycle and see, what's coming out, the newest breach that maybe got through, tracking things like that, just being able to see news cases about that. And then as well, maybe viewing, what other Pax8 partners are doing. And so that's what it's always nice to know what maybe some of our, MSP competition, what's really trending well with them as far as vendors and products and things like that. So we are able to give you a lot of those insights and very much in a customizable format. So what you can see here is, one of these potential landing pages here. I say one of them just because they can look completely different and completely customizable. It's all done through the system of what we call widgets right here. So you can see I can just drag and drop these widgets. I can resize them in any kind of conceivable shape there to get them to display properly if I need a little bit more reading room on a news site, or if I want to make it a little bit more succinct as far as graphics and bars and things like that go. But yeah, within kind of these widgets as well, what you'll see initially is kind of a landing page to create these. And so this is probably what you're going to see the first time you log into the Pax8 platform. You'll be prompted to create a custom dashboard, or you can select one of our pre-default default layouts here that we have. So we've got one kind of a little bit more geared towards the sales crowd, a little bit more kind of numbers heavy. We do have that customer layout, so we can get information about subscriptions. We can get information about provisioning details. Even keep an eye on support tickets and things like that through there, as well as the news layout, just kind of coming in, understanding, what is the channel up to today, where, which way is the wind blowing with the channel. And again, kind of tracking that across maybe some websites that we would recommend, but also custom websites. You guys may have, certain places that you visit every day, that are maybe outside of the Pax8 platform. Let's go ahead and aggregate some of that information, maybe consolidate that a little bit more, just to keep fewer tabs open on our screen there.
Yeah. And to clarify at this point, Tom, I talked about being an MSP business owner. We talk about the executive dashboard. This is available to everybody who logs into the Pax8 platform, isn't it? So whatever position you are in the business, you can customize this dashboard for your own use.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And that's what we wanted to make the platform available to everybody. So including that top CEO, the decision maker that runs everything, for them to have valuable information on our landing page, as well as that frontline technician, the person going in there doing these license changes, maybe syncing across to a PSA tool, working with our support teams. Maybe we're working back and forth to work out an issue and things like that. We want that information to be relevant. We don't want you to just come to a landing page in which, that doesn't have anything to do with me, I'm going to go elsewhere for it. Very much just, about 5 or 10 minutes out of your day to curate these can end up with a pretty great experience.
Yeah.
And so, one of the things that I can show you right off the bat is the sales layout. So I do have this pulled up on another account that I can flip over to. But here you can see, that this is an example of what kinds of numbers you're going to see with the sales layout. Again, I didn't have to curate any of this custom. I clicked the easy button. I clicked the sales layout, and a lot of the stuff was generated. But these are fantastic metrics that I'm getting here. So I'm looking at my revenue history. I can see margin percentages across the top there. But then, keeping an eye on the business growth. It's my job as the owner of this MSP to grow the business, to do more with my current existing resources. I can't just tackle every problem by throwing bodies at it. How do I really streamline that? So what I'm looking at here is, our company reach. We can see, the new customers coming in. Looks like April was a great month for us there. And then as well, tracking those actual numbers, down to and including the revenue, that growth, that attrition, if that does happen there, seeing, maybe where we can pick it up a little bit or focus our time a little bit more, just if we're, kind of losing some of that revenue, all of that will start trending and be very, very trackable. Even inside of this, I can customize this even further. And so that's what, I could spend all day here on the call with you showing these great things, but, just coming into one of these, I can display, just the growth, just the attrition if I would need to. I can look back in time, however long I would need to. I can even stylize these graphs a little bit. So if you really are the data guru, you love your Power BI, come in here and make some beautiful graphics, some beautiful data, and or customize it. We've got, a great color scheme at Pax8. It may not be quite for you. You may have your own company logo and branding and things like that. Absolutely flavor these to what you would be there. So you can very much cater these across the entire visible color spectrum there to really make these graphs your own, and or make it a little bit more appreciative data there. I think can always be a nice touch. You can see, very, very easy to curate a lot of these things. Kind of coming down here as well, I would like to talk about kind of two other ones that I had briefly mentioned there, and that's getting kind of insights into the rest of the MSP community. So that's what with our growing partner of ecosystems here, or growing ecosystem of partners globally, we do have some insights on what's trending within the MSP community. So we see things like those top Microsoft products coming through. You can see their Business Premium was on top for a very long time. All of a sudden, we're seeing Business Basic here make a lot of ground and stride to it, but also this is for the future. So what's the next Business Premium? What's the next great SKU that Microsoft will release here that will drive traffic to? That's a great way to go ahead and put that on your radar, as well as those vendors. And so, very much just outside of that Microsoft equation, there's a lot of other things that we do, and we do very well here at Pax8. You may not have encountered some of these solutions before. You may still be suffering through a couple of different backup solutions or a couple of different security solutions there. They're good, but they're not great. They achieve maybe 4 out of the 5 things, but don't quite get it. Maybe you can see a product, that's doing very well within the Pax8 community. We see a lot of these things here. Microsoft, of course, going to be the big one. A couple of security products. We've got a fantastic, password manager that seems to be doing very well within our organization. So lots of really good data, lots of really good insights that are coming into this stuff here. And again, relevant information. If I care about this stuff, I can have this on my home screen. And if I don't care about this stuff, I can delete it and have more relevant data. And so that's what, very, very much, customize a lot of this stuff to make it your own.
Yeah, very cool. And I want to point to that widget you just showed us there, the trending vendors. Super important for MSPs. I used to run a managed service provider business, as I said, keeping your finger on the pulse of what your competitors are doing and what products and solutions are emerging in the wider community. That can take a lot of time and effort. That's why I love this widget so much here, Tom, because it gives you at a glance, you're like, what is that product? What is that vendor? What's it all about? It enables very, very busy MSP owners. It enables details to bubble to the surface that says, right, now's the time to take a look at this, rather than trying to drink from the fire hose, which is the entire internet and all the information that's out there.
Mm-hmm. And that's what it doesn't just have to stop with the discovery there. That's what the value of Pax8 bringing you is that, hey, reach out to your account manager. I saw that this is doing well on the trending vendors. Can you tell me more? And we'll be able to provide you with white papers, demonstrations. Myself and my team in the solution engineering, more than happy to hop on a call and kind of walk you guys through a demonstration of it. Very, very much education and enablement. We want you guys, to know about these things. You don't know what you don't know. Everybody's heard that phrase before, but there may be an absolutely perfect fit security product, or just hitting that sweet spot as far as backup goes that one customer really needs, even maybe trying a couple of misfit puzzle pieces. This is a great way to find that stuff and kind of educate yourself about that. Absolutely so. Great. The last component that I'd like to show you is maybe how easy it is to add these widgets from scratch, curating it. That's what I see a lot of the templates get used, just because it is kind of one button. I can click that sales layout, that news layout, and just populate that beautiful data. That's our best guess. That's just what we think you want to see. What you want to see. You very much know how you want to customize it. So I'd highly encourage just spending a little bit of time coming in here. You can see, scroll down here through a list of widgets. This is an ever expanding list of widgets. We're always adding, new and unique ones inside of here, and they all have very relevant information for what you're looking for. Very, very easy to add these. So there's our iframe experience. And so if we just want to nest a URL inside there, just to keep an eye on maybe an external web page, You can see right there what we've got, most of it there. Maybe just, curate out the size here a little bit, just because I'm going to be loading in a web page, make that more visible. I can head to my settings up top. I can come in here, we've got a couple of MSP websites that we'd recommend, but I've also got a great website that I do like to visit on occasion there, Richard. So we'll go ahead and take a look at the Tubblog. You can see there, we validated it just to make sure it's going to support that iframe. We'll exit my settings and look at that. We've got your big smiling face right there.
Very cool. Very cool. I like that. Thank you for the plug, Tom.
No, of course. And that's what, very, very easy to go ahead and add this. And then, side by side, if I do want to see, my margin percentages, talk about those new Pax8 vendors, what's brand new, what's kind of hot off the presses here at Pax8, versus maybe some of those stacks utilizations and some of the other stuff as well. So looking very much across the business, across the technology, across the support, really anything that you can want as far as consumable information, you should be able to curate it through here, through the widgets. And so, I've been very, very impressed with these. Something, again, I would highly advise just taking 5-10 minutes out of your day to sit down, just because within a couple of minutes, you can really curate some great information that's going to be specific to you, that's going to be stuff that you like reading. And yeah, I absolutely cannot stress kind of the value of a good landing page nowadays. Everybody loves their dashboards and stuff like that. We really want this to be something that you own, that's really feels like home when you're logging in. So
couldn't agree more, Tom. I think this is an absolute killer feature. Thanks for showing it to us.
Of course.